Fireside Tales. Hello. I'm Merlin. Mililli. Welcome to my fireside, where I tell tales within tales. Within tales. Squeaky has to get in on the action today. So, I'm a deadhead. I talked in other episodes about my deadheadedness. And I also discussed how I was going to the Hollywood Bowl shows for Dead and Company at the end of October. And I went, and my show was wonderful, but I still didn't get my dark star. Had a little dark cloud kind of hanging over lifetimes, and over this particular lifetime, here at Fireside Tales, we discuss reincarnation often. And one of the purposes of this show is to discuss reincarnation. And to enlighten people as to exactly what reincarnation is. So, every week so far, I've talked about reincarnation and the Akashic Records. And I've been meditating since I was a teenager, and now I'm in my 40s, and I've been visiting this place since I was a teenager, called the Akasha, or the Akashic Records. And it's a meditative place. Don't mind my stockings, little bear. I don't know if he's getting in the shot, but my furry friends they're trying. So, the Akashic Records. It's a meditative library. You get there through meditation. I've been going there and viewing my book since I was a teenager. And every soul has, apparently, a book in the Akashic Records where there's a record of who your soul has been, or the lives that your soul has lived. If you've lived more than one. If you've only lived one, then I suppose that life is in your book. I've also been discussing every week how I'm a psychic medium. And I've always, well, since I was a small child, I've been able to communicate with the spirit realm. And the spirits have had a theory on reincarnation for a while, and I haven't been able to disprove this theory. And it's that people who are reincarnated were also murdered. So if that's the case, then I've been murdered a lot. My book is big and old and dusty. And we started with our first episode with my last life, my very last life previous to this one. And after the first episode, we went all the way back to my very first life in my book. And we started there, and we've been progressing forward. So, every week so far, because of our connection with the Grateful Dead, and because it's a story about reincarnation, I have been telling the story of the Grateful Dead in a different and creative way every week here at Fireside Tales, part of our Tales Within Tales. So I like to tell you the story of the Grateful Dead the way I heard it originally, from a deadhead, by a fire. So I'm going to tell it to you now, from a deadhead, by a fire. Once, long, long ago, there was a traveler. And she was traveling along, and she happened upon a dead body. And around the dead body were all these people squabbling over the dead man's debts. The traveler was appalled and thought this was totally inappropriate and rude. And people were squabbling over the dead man's debts and who was going to bury him and who was going to pay for it. And the traveler just said, stop, 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 stop. And she paid his debts. And she paid for a proper burial. And she prayed over his grave. And then she traveled on. And many years later, decades even, the traveler from the beginning of the story happens upon a life or death situation where out of nowhere a stranger comes up and quickly saves her life. Traveler says, thank you. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why did you save my life? And the stranger simply says, I am the Grateful Dead. story about reincarnation. It's not a corpse. Corpses can't save people's lives. It's a reincarnated person. The corpse has been buried and prayed over. It can't save the traveler's life. It's not a corpse. I know some people have thought that, but it's not. It can't be. Corpses don't save people's lives. It's a reincarnated person. It's an old Buddhist story from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. They believe in reincarnation. It's about reincarnation. That dead man died, was buried, prayed over. He reincarnated in another body. Was born a little baby, grew up, still remembered the debts his spirit owed the traveler. Wanted to repay the traveler for what she had done for him. Sort of a karmic story, too. And that's something we touch upon here at Fireside Tales as I talk about my past lives. I talk about how karma is a thing. You have to pay for every misdeed or anything you do wrong. So, when we first went back to my very first life in my book, we went back to ancient Peru, and then I talked about penalties and karma and interdimensional travel. I was penalized for interdimensional travel. I had to be a cloud bird for 300 years. Wasn't quite in existence at all. But nonetheless, then I found myself in ancient Tibet, ancient Egypt, ancient Sumeria, ancient Greece, very old Scotland. I've talked to you in other episodes about my watermark. I seem to have this weird watermark when time changed from AD to BC. Or no, from BC to AD, excuse me. It's a mark in my book that's there at that time. Everything before that is dry and light and sunny, hot. And everything below that is wet and dark and muddy. Or everything after that, after the watermark. It's strange, and I think it marks the Great Flood. And I think it was because of the flood that we reset time, not necessarily because of Jesus. Maybe it flooded because of him, but I don't know. Nonetheless, very old Scotland, then I told you about a life I lived in England, Ireland, Scotland, as the the daughter of the original Merlin of Britain, and I talked to you about how I interdimensionally traveled again, and I had another penalty. I had to be the fairy queen for what felt like hundreds of years. I think it may have only been 100 years. But karma is one of those things that it's your debts, your not financial debts, but spiritual debts that you owe the multiverse. A good amount, a significant portion of our karma plays out in our life while we're living a particular life. You usually will have your karma come to you while you're living your life. But if that doesn't happen, or if it's something weird like interdimensional travel that you're paying for, you pay for it at the end of your life, in between lives, or with other lives. After my penalty, and I was fairy queen for a long time, I found myself in a new body, in a human body, in Byzantium. I told you about how I was empress in Constantinople. So I last left you in present-day Turkey, Istanbul, and that's where I was born, again in a little tiny baby body, and grew up, sort of. So, I was born in the life we're going to discuss now, today, in the 13th century, end of the 13th century. And like I said, I was born in what is now Turkey, Istanbul. But my mother died in childbirth. So my father raised me. And we lived most of that time in France. My father was a blacksmith and a stable master for the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were an army that the Pope commissioned and used for crusades and different things. And I helped my father with forging swords, shoeing horses, making chainmail, making full suits of armor. And as a teenager, even though I was starting to look more and more like a girl, and my given name was Marie, no one really knew I was a girl. My father called me Squib, and I often wore his cap. And I found that when I went to town in my father's cap, no one recognized me, and they all thought I was a boy. So I took advantage of that when I could, listened in maybe more than I should have to conversations that were probably none of my business. But I was a teenager, so I thought I knew everything. And then someone murdered my father. So I could make a full suit of armor. I thought I could just suit up and be a Knight Templar. No one would know. And I suited up and sought vengeance for my father. And I had artillery and horses all at my disposal. So I ran off seeking vengeance and pretending to be a Knight Templar. It's already the 14th century, 1300s. I'm still in France, and I bit off a lot more than I could chew. The Templars, they weren't just knights. They weren't just an army. They weren't just military. They were bankers. They were some of the first bankers. They were loan sharks. They were mercenaries. They were farmers. They were business people. They were traders. They had ships. They were sailors. They were blacksmiths and stable masters. They were very complicated. And I had no idea when I tried to join up. The order had gotten mixed up with a lot of people like me. Didn't really know what was going on, but they were faking it. And I always thought, like, right till the very end, that no one knew. But I know now that they knew. And on Friday the 13th, 1307, the king and the Pope caught up with me and several others, 12 to be specific, that were probably doing the same thing, trying to fake being a Templar. I don't think they let any of the real Templars burn. And I don't think the Pope caught any of the real ones. But I burnt at the stake for my mistake. And it served me right. But the Templars knew they wanted to get rid of us, too. All the stragglers, teenagers, didn't know what was going on. Women. I had no idea what I was getting into. And I got in way over my head. And the church found out I was a woman when they went to burn me at the stake. But they figured, once I was burnt, no one would know and no one would care. So I'm not sure if it was this particular life, but now in my current body, in my current state, in my current life, I do not believe in revenge. I do not stick my nose in where it doesn't belong, and I don't mind other people's business. One reason why I don't visit other books in the Akashic Records. They're not my book. They're not my business. Those aren't my lessons to learn. I'm sharing my book with you in the hopes that it can help you in some way. I don't know, to not be stupid like me in a whole lot of instances. Maybe we can all be less stupid as we move forward. To being less stupid. So another tradition that I have here at Fireside Tales, another tale within a tale, is that we cover David Crosby's Deja Vu every week. And we do it in a different way every week. Eventually, I'll get it right. This week is no different. I think the song is about reincarnation. I don't think Deja Vu is a reincarnation thing necessarily, though. Deja Vu seems to come from, at least mine, that sensation of I've seen this whole little snippet of time unfold before. I think that those moments come from our dreams. They seem to come from my dreams, like prophetic dreams. I've seen it before in a dream. So I've talked about grounding and smudging for proper meditative vibes or results. Sometimes what you're reading or interpreting through meditation, especially in the Akashic Records, can be very painful. The times I was murdered, it left a big scar on my soul, and I remember the pain from each time. And it hurts still. So I'm gonna sing for you Deja Vu We're going to rock it out on the electric guitar today. So, here we go. If I had ever been here before, I would probably know just what to do. Don't you? If I had ever been here before on another time around the wheel, I would probably know just how to deal with all of you. And I like I've been here before. Like I've been here before, and you know, it makes me wonder what's going on under the ground. Do you know? Don't you wonder? What's going on down under you? hot by the fire today. I think I like Friday mornings. I was shooting for Friday nights for the 8 o'clock Friday slot, but I seem to have trouble posting at 8 o'clock on Friday. So I think I'm going to shoot for Friday mornings. Will enlighten you as to what reincarnation is, so you can start your weird weekend weird. Have a weird weekend. So, next week we're bound to go many other places. I have been noticing some threads between lives. Music being one of them, dogs being another. Things that each of my lives has in common. I seem to have been sort of mediumistic and talented in this fashion that I'm talented in this life, in many other lives as well. So I made an album called Triscotechophobia. Last year before, 2020, I think. And it's all about this life that I discussed today. And my fear of the number 13, which is what Triscotechophobia is from this life. Every car accident I've been in has been on Friday the 13th. I just don't drive in vehicles on Friday the 13th typically. It doesn't work out for me. But this is what I'm talking about with karma and the multiverse and how things come around. You pay for your ignorance, you pay for your cockiness. You pay with karma, not with money. But I learned so much just from this particular life. Even though it seems to hold a little dark cloud over my head, and lives after this. I'll show you the pattern as we unfold different lives as each week we progress into my book. But this particular life taught me so many things. A lot about the Templars that I hadn't known until I was like a fish out of water and I had to learn. They were so much more than just knights. And I had been really ignorant. And the Pope and the King betrayed them. The knights hadn't done anything wrong. I sort of did things wrong. I shouldn't have pretended to be something I wasn't. Seek vengeance. I don't believe in vengeance anymore. I think I said that in this life, in this body. I don't think I believed in it in many lives after this either. Just if you go and avenge a person's death, or murder rather, you're just going to make a whole bunch of enemies of those people that loved that person that you're going to go kill for the person that you loved. Gandhi said, an eye for an eye will make us all blind. I agree. I don't believe in vengeance, and I'm pretty sure it's this particular life that I discussed today that made it so. It's silly. I got murdered, burnt at the stake even, for seeking vengeance. For what? What would it have done for my father? It doesn't bring that person back. Maybe reincarnated, but not as who they were or had been. It solves nothing. It only makes more problems and enemies. We don't need more enemies in this world. We need more friends, more kindness, more love. So thanks for watching. Catch us next week. A Mililli Studios production.